Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Guile here, and welcome back to another Supreme Commander epic. That's right, it's the time of the month when replays last just a little bit longer than usual, so you know what to do. If you haven't got time to watch it now, dump it in your Watch Later playlist and catch it when you have the time. It won't make any difference to me. I get the extra view, so it's all good. What have I got for you today? It's going to be custom 5v5 on a generated map. And aren't we lucky? Look, all those people who love Navy, who usually get stiffed by the map gen because it doesn't provide any significant water. There you go, you are rewarded today. Naval players, naval fans, that's people who are fans of boats and ships, not people who like midrifts, but you're welcome to. Not that you'll find what you're looking for here, but yes, behold, we have the water that we so require for such games. We'll call this Team 1 up here at the top, this Team 2 down here at the bottom. We'll give our players some time, we'll allow them to gate in, and we'll make our all-important introductions, starting with Team 1 up here at the rearguard air position, at the top left-hand corner. And I don't know what it is with this name, but it sounds like it's a sample at the beginning of some German techno track. Hull base deck. Boom, 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 boom. Anyway, here he is, going Aeon, opening first land in Ferrari red. Team member number 2 to his right over here in Regal purple. It's Gorthor, there he is, going Seraphim, opening first land. Sticking with the theme at the top of the screen here, to the right on this little side island over here, it's Prugler PDM. He is going Aeon as well in Pontiff White, opening first land. Team member number 4, down here to the bottom left, we have Literal. He is going Aeon as well, a bit of a theme emerging here, and he's opening first land in Lurid Green. And last but not least, down here in this season's fabulous Vivacious Violet, it's Virus 008. All of the V's at this middle of the left-hand side position. Going Cybrin, bless him, breaking with the floaty, naughty theme for Team 1. He's also opening first land. So that's Team 1, comprising of a whopping 3 Aeons, a Seraphim, and a Cybrin. Checking out Team 2 now, starting at the bottom right-hand corner, rearguard air position in Spetsnaz green, opening first land, going Seraphim. It's Zoom. Team member number 2 over here to the north in Cyanide Cyan, it's Legend Lore 2. He is going Seraphim, opening first land. Team member number 3 to the left in Hallyborange Orange, we have Korn. He's also going Seraphim, opening first land, second air. Down here at the bottom left in Electric Blue, we have another Aeon. Loads of Aeons and Seraphims here today. It's Pezduk. There he is, going first land. And last but not least, up at the top right, some UEF representation. It's Pepe. Well done, sir. He has gone Baby Blue, opening first land, going second Navy. We don't often get a chance to say that. How terribly exciting. So racial makeup of Team 2 is 1 Aeon. Well, no, so 3 Seraphim, 1 Aeon, and 1 UEF. So I think we should have some kind of UEF, no, so some kind of Aeon or Seraphim boundary. I think we go Aeon. It looks prettier. Aeon contrasting with the red. There we go for today's game. And it's a 20 by 20, but of course not exactly. It's more like a 15 by 15. We've got a border gap today, as we seem to have so often here with the map gen, but still pretty sizable map. Lots and lots of mass points to be had on the central landmass. Absolutely none to be had under the water anywhere else. Is that a theme? Answers in the comments section below if you've noticed a theme of the map gen not being particularly partial to placing underwater mass points like some of the old custom maps have had amongst the Aeons, the Ages. But yeah, you never see that. And we haven't got an awful lot of hydros dotted about either. And I don't think we've got... Oh no, we do have 1 or 2, sorry. We have some around the starting locales. So very helpfully provided, a little extra power boost, but yeah, none scattered across the midsection or anything like that. The reclaim situation, a decent liberal smattering of reclaimable mass kicking about. We've got some big numbers here. Look, there's 2,300, well, it was more than that. It was probably close to 3,000 up in these mass fields initially, but it looks like we've had a little bit of recycling already, perhaps from this engineer. And we'll have a look at who got a better start on the reclaim side of things in just a moment. Things are heating up. Our players are expanding. We've already had transports out over here from Virus, expanding to the front. We've also got one from his next-door neighbour teammate there, Literal, who is bringing troops to the fore. In terms of players to watch out for today, we have 4 pros, although it does actually I think it's a little bit of a fib. It's classifying Hull Base Tech as pro level because it rounds up, but I did take a cheeky look at their real values and he's actually about 1453. So technically still a Joe, Hull Base Tech, but a high placed Joe nonetheless. But Gorthor and Literal are the players to watch out for pro levels on Team 1. That's the central linchpin players there next door to each other on the main landmass. And for Team 2, we have 2 pros as well. That is Zoom. He's handling air right at the back and Legend Lore in front of him. A slightly wider range of talent for Team 1 and a narrower, more condensed field of ability, judging by scores or ratings. Not that that means anything for Team 2. So there we have it. First few planes are out and kicking all sorts of shades of excrement out of one another. Not that anyone has significant number of planes to deal major damage as yet. Up at the top right hand corner, a single solitary frigate out from Pepe, harassing the expanding naval yards and engineers associated with them there of Prugler. Prugler brings his comm into the water and he's going to throw down a T1 torpedo launcher to try and shut that down. Upgrades on the way now. T2 upgrade for Khorne, marching his comm forward, probably looking forward to marching up to the middle and establishing some sort of outpost. Virus has moved his comm forward onto this little stretch of land, but that's a Cybran comm giving up base HP, of course, and not yet starting on an upgrade. So if that finishes... No, that's been cancelled. Interesting. So Khorne decided he didn't like that decision and has gone for some alternative stratagem. Love to know his thoughts behind that, sir. If you're watching, do let us know in the comments below. And while you're down there, everybody, do give us a like. The earlier you smack the like button in the cast, the more or the larger effect it will have on the algo. And I know you all secretly want to help. It is just the way of things. Terribly nice lot, you faffers and appreciators of faffers. That's not even a word, but you know what I mean. Fans of faffers and fans of faff. There we go. All of the faffing. A little bit of inbound spam now trickling down from this forward base of Virus and basically brushing aside, not completely because there's another land factory, but brushing aside the attempt of Pez or Pez UK to get a decent established foothold on this raised section over here. You can see he went for a distant build up the cliff edge there, but he's going to struggle to hold on to that, and as a result his position in the bottom section of the map potentially in jeopardy. Apologies if you can hear my dog barking in the background. I've tried to get him shipped off to boarding school, but turns out they have an issue with cockapoos. Something to do with their housing and fleas. Not that my dog has fleas, but they can't take the chance. Prugler still sticking it out on his side island, still receiving a little bit of a naval harassment here and there from Pepe. All seems to be one way for the moment. Upgrade on the way for Legend Lore 2. That's going to be a T2 upgrade. Help him lock down the area on that northern causeway. And we are going to get a T2 upgrade on the way from Zoom, assuming that's not cancelled as well, who's moved his comm up from that rear base right the way towards the centre to assist, in stark contrast to Hull Base Tech, who has kept his comm firmly where it is. I'm not helping on the front line, that's peasant's work, he says. I am all about the planes, which is why I selected the glorious Aeon. Some torpedo bomber play out from Gorthor, helping to secure the waters around Prugler's island. And all, it turns out, has not been lost over here. Pez has actually brought his comm up onto this plateau. I'm not sure whether he came around the edge and strolled up or was airdropped. I mean, he hasn't got anything in the way of air production, so I'm imagining he came around on foot, so to speak. And Khorne also went for a distance build on the cliff edge. I'm wondering if this is what actually persuaded him to cancel that upgrade, to bring that comm down to assist Pez with defense of this position. Virus is, I wouldn't say buried in, burrowed in here, or fortified or anything like that. This push from the comm might be enough to dislodge his position altogether, but nonetheless he posed a threat. And we actually got a little bit of central naval play here, although that's looking like it's about to be torpedoed in the most literal sense as bombers move in to destroy that. But nonetheless, the thought was there from Legend Lore, who set up shop and has actually pumped out a frigate or two. But T2 air pressure from Gorthor, putting that little play to bed. Khorne bringing his comm back in towards the centre, away from this little group of factories which seem more or less self-sufficient now. We've got some T2 NGs in place. They must have been brought in actually, because none of these factories are at T2. So he has moved those up, probably an airdrop. Sensing a little bit of a mismatch on the air power front as we cross the 10-minute threshold here. Team 2 seeming light on aerial defense. Gorthor capitalizing. We've already got T2 gunships out in the mid and torpedo bombers which have been harassing the mid, and of course naval units belonging to Pepe. Pepe was assaulting this island and the area around it, but has been driven back, and it's now his naval yards which are facing attack. Brugler seeing to that with a handful of frigates and subs. And those gunships we mentioned a moment ago continuing to circle and search for vulnerable targets. And we've also got a Notha fighter bomber now on the scene. Is that representing a major shift in general production, or is he just cycling between... Oh, is that an upgrade that he's got planned there after this next fighter? Icon recognition, not my strength, as you guys should know now after years of watching. Indeed it is. So an upgrade to T3 on the way for Gorthor, looking to hang on to his aerial advantage. He likes the way that's going. And as expected, Virus has been evicted from this position down here. It was a nice play, but didn't have commitment or indeed support from any other players, so it was probably always doomed to fail. T1 spam moving in now from Khorne up towards Virus's forward position. That's not going to get anywhere. Too many defenses, and these gunships are proving too hot to handle right now. Gorthor able to go more or less where he pleases, but oh look! Team 2 were keeping that quiet. Zum not getting involved in air defense at all, but going straight for ASF production and then bringing a handful of them out once he had enough to engage with. The only problem is that How Base Tech has also been busy, so we've actually got two people handling air right now. The natural air position, How, and Gorthor, of course, who's been pushing with his own T2 air units and is soon going to be at T3. There it clicks over. We haven't said anything about where the teams are in terms of eco and how efficient they've been, so let's take a look at that now. It's 384 mass per tick for Team 1 versus 342. Sizable difference, but nothing to write home about, and overall it's transpired to an almost exact differential of 20k in terms of total mass accrued between the two teams in favour of Team 1 still. So Team 2 with a little bit of catch-up work here. The initial early pressing advantages in the naval game for Pepe have been eaten away at, thanks to assisting air pressure from Gorthor. And likewise, the early ground pressure from Varus. The infestation has more or less been dealt with, although we still have one mass extractor, a radar, and a couple of NGs lurking down here, but there's nothing to be too concerned about. That's the view from their position, so they're Team 2 well aware of those units and their existence. Heads still unupgraded. We're going to see a push on this forward position over here. The only entrance on the ground, incidentally, onto this southern plateau or southwestern plateau is down here. There's one on each side coming across this lake, and whichever team manages to hold this, that could give them a nice defensible position to fire down artillery, tac missiles, or whatever else. Varus definitely doesn't want to lose his foothold on that plateau, otherwise it puts his main base very much in jeopardy. Literal now advancing forward on the ground, and we have a triple upgraded ACU here. He's got personal shield and double Aeon sniper comm. That's a lot of damage, a lot of Rambo-ness. Tons of masculine energy radiating from Literal there. And not only that, he's got a pretty sizable army. Mostly T1, but a couple of T2 units in there, and it's covered by mobile shield gens, importantly. So that's a nasty little threat there. Zoom and Com feel the same, which is why they're focusing on defenses at the midpoint. They'll be very grateful for each other's company as well. Two ACUs, significantly more dangerous than just the one. I like this little formation here that's actually showing up. The topography there on the landmass. On the mini-map there. So you get the feeling that water levels were at a different height once upon a time on this map. Well done, Map Gen. I know you can't hear me, but we all think the world of you. So, Legend Lore re-established his naval position, and Literal does not like that at all, so he's sending his horde of floaty, naughty over there to try and dismantle it once again. Legend Lore invested a decent amount in it. He's gone straight to T2, and he's kicked out some cruisers. Unfortunately, he hasn't got any destroyers, but he has got a bunch of Yenzines, which are more than a match for the tinfoil Auroras. Like I said, we do have Asylum shield gens and blazers to worry about, but not a huge number of those T2 hover tanks. Legend Lore just on the shoreline here with his comm, spamming down, or spamming up, depending on how you'd like that phrase, some T2 PD. Will Literal be successful in taking down this naval yard? They've certainly opened up a bit to the exclusion of every other target in the area. Love to take it out of commission. It's down to a few hundred hit points. Boom! Nice little kill there. Will he stick around and try and finish off a cruiser or two, or will he withdraw? I think he looks like he's going to withdraw. And it looks like he's not going to get any of those back either. So, might as well have stuck around and tried to kill a boat or two. I like that. The addition of a sniper bot on the opposite shoreline there from Khorne. Tactical missile upgrade on the way for Gorthor. Now looking to unleash some comm to base harass. T2 upgrade on the way for Hau Base Tech, who went, incidentally, straight for the advanced RAS upgrade. You can see in your bottom left-hand corner there, the little icon just above his name. So getting a decent amount of eco from his comm. Gorthor still leading the pile, though, in terms of eco for Team 1 on 195. Khorne, incidentally, 1400 rated. leading the pack for Team 2 at 197. Arguably leading the field, although he's almost tied neck and neck with Gawthorpe. Pez a stone's throw away from a hardy-looking group of gunships. What do we have in terms of anti-air down here? Well, we've got some Thistles, some T1 mobile anti-air, and I say some, and we're literally talking about 5 or so. Those gunships coming in to hit those initially. And if those all get taken out, Pez could require some fighter assistance from Zoom. I don't know where he's been keeping his ASFs. There they are. They're circling in the middle, ready to jump to his defense, and that could provoke quite the air fracas. Speaking of fracas, counter-attack attack underway now from Pepe in that top right corner water position. A couple of Valiant class destroyers outmatching everything else on the field, bar a Vesper T2 sub-hunter. I think that looks like it might go his way. He's also got a Cooper torpedo boat in the mix. Oh, maybe I spoke too soon. It was looking good for a moment there. Exodus badly damaged in the back, but still alive. What's happening down over here? Virus keeping himself to himself. Sniper bots circling outside the front of Khorne and Zoom's forward outpost. Oh dear, getting himself caught there. What was that killed him? That looked like it might have been a miasma shell from the T2 artillery emplacement up front, belonging to Littoral. He's going hard for the artillery. 2 of them online now. Artillery versus sniper bots. Shield destroyed or reclaimed, you decide. Certainly the structure was reclaimed, as we just saw. Would have been an interesting decision to take that down intentionally. I don't know why you would, so I'm going to go with hit with the miasmas and destroyed. Combination of miasma, incidentally, and sniper bots in play on this forward position. A third miasma artillery installation underway. And no comms in sight in the middle. Where have our comms disappeared to? Khorne dropping back. Zoom also dropping back. So Team 2 effectively abandoning the midpoint, at least with their ACUs. There is nothing in the way of build power besides these engineers which are being produced from this factory and this T2 engineer. That's not a huge amount. What's the reach like on Littoral's miasmas? Well, I mean, that front one could reach everything, and I imagine the ones just behind it will be able to hit pretty much everything. So this is not a major commitment to this position for Team 2. And if that gets knocked out, and it gets harder to hold the rest of the front line, Littoral can advance and potentially set up shop. And now we're going to see the slight advantage the UEF have on the naval side of things with those whopping great shield boats. Surprising that he's dumped a cruiser in there, or maybe he's just trying to help guard against potential air threats. Really needs to win the battle on the water, so as many destroyers as possible is probably the way to go. But he's probably just covering all bases, and that should never be judged in a negative fashion, always sensible. Gawthorpe working on a T3 upgrade now. 14 kills to his name so far. I'm not sure how much work he's been doing with the TAC missile launcher. We do have some dead mexes here and there, which are the usual targets for such things. But they could have been taken out by anyone, Guile. I know, you're right. strategic bombers in play now for Howe Base Tech. How many have we got? Looks like 4 or so. No, those are Solaces. So those are T3 torpedo bombers at presumably Prugler's beck and call should he need them to assist in the pond. So Howe doing a nice job here of looking to support his teammates in all the right places. Looks like he pumped out one strap bomber and then has gone mass Solace. Those race-specific T3 torpedo bombers are absolutely brutal. You know what else is pretty brutal? The difference between a brick and any T1 unit on the field. The Virus not wanting to press against that pile of T1 spam just yet. There are some T2 units in there. A wonderful obsidian tank. So the forward outpost has been wrecked, but Khorne has pumped out a tidy number of siege tanks, which he's rolling up into the gap to use to defend instead. Problem is their range isn't great. Just going to be taking sniper bot fire along with artillery fire. But we have officially reached the experimental phase of this game. 25 minutes in. It might not be the first one on the field, but it's the first one that I've noticed. And now we're getting to the part where things really kick off. Advanced RAS underway for Zoom. Now, this is the part of the game where following all of the action becomes borderline impossible. Especially someone for my limited field of view. But now the bricks are on the move, taking a little bit of fire from a T2 point defense to the northeast. And if they hug this cliff edge, they should be able to get away from it and cause some damage further to the south. Apologies if you can hear my stomach rumbling on track. That was a particularly noisy one. I'm doing intermittent fasting and I'm really warm, which is a strange side effect, which I didn't see coming. Properly hot all the time, but I guess that's a good sign. It means I'm getting less fat. Khorne sticking with Otham production. Now, is he going to be able to break this position? He's not heading straight into it. Is he instead going after Virus? Waypoint not giving us any clues beyond a position in the pond. No, looks like he is moving further to the north. He's just trying to keep his Othams out of the field of fire for as long as possible before moving back into this position. In come the Volthu gunships. And Zoom would love to respond here with his own air force, but I think he would be well and truly outmatched if he did. Is that going to stop him nonetheless? It is. He's going to head on away from that encounter. Doesn't like it in the slightest. Gorthor's maneuver here with the gunships, keeping Littoral's outpost alive. He lost one edge of it. It's having power problems, it would seem. Want that back up as soon as possible. Oh, and in come the Solaces. Looking to torpedo bomb that Ethota, but the Ethota made too much progress. If he'd just brought those in earlier, that would have been well and truly obliterated. But a nice little rejection there from that attack. Oh, and a counter experimental GC moving in from Littoral now. Colossus steaming straight down the causeway. None of this standing around in the water business for him. Nice little group of Harbingers and those Othams. Engineers working on PD, getting ready to stop its progress. One single solitary attack missile launcher right on the peninsula over here, this little mini plateau. Another one, incidentally, which we didn't mention. No access points up from the main landmass. Drops and distance builds, the only way to get equipment on site. T3 upgrade on the way for Howe. GC advance continues. He takes out one of the Ethotas, focuses on a second that's just moved in. The Ion Storm starts wreaking havoc on its friendly units. Although, has it been changed so that it deliberately ignores it? No, it is proccing on some of those. Oh, a lot of misses going in there. Wondering if they've reduced the amount of times it selects units. It's a balancing issue. Answers in the comment section if you know the answer to that one. And the second Ethota will win out, but not by much. He's only got 11,800 hit points left on the clock. He's targeting the sniper bots from Literal, and in one large plasma bolt bags 3 of the 4. But look at this, counter push from Virus on the bottom plateau. Another nice little group of bricks. Pushing down to what is a very, very minor remnant of Pezd. Should call him Pezduk, really. Pezduk. But a bug out from Virus. Brought straight in against Pezduk's main base now. This should definitely provoke a response. Where are the ASFs from Zoom? Or Zoom, rather. There they are. This, I mean, it's ill-advised. He's done some decent damage here. He's killed the build capacity working on the GC. He's killed all the factories. But he's going to lose the bug. That is the problem. You don't have air force of your own. But still some nice damage inflicted on Pez in the south. Is Virus going to be able to expand and capitalize? Not only Virus, incidentally, some of these mexes that you would have thought naturally belong to Virus have been donated over to Gorthor, who is, well, he's chip leader in this game in terms of income. 475 mass per tick. Next highest is 430, I believe, and that's Khorne on Team 2, who's short stacking today. That would be, I think, it's fluctuating a little bit, but it's Prugler and it's Pez. Pez, who's just suffered a combined attack in the air and ground from Virus. Pez, who's just locked into, can't say gutter war because this is a little bit too expansive for a gutter, but certainly the analogy is the same. Hard fought naval battle against Pepe, who, no, Pepe's actually short stacking. Oh, I think he was power locked for a moment there. He was indeed. He's actually faring a lot better. So if you compare the incomes here between the two naval players, Pepe on 256, Pez, not Pez, what I'm talking out, it's Prugler, 182, sorry. So yeah, so that's a big difference. There's over 100 mass difference between these two players up here, and that is sizable. And there hasn't been a push in a while, but you get the feeling that maybe Pepe is just amassing an unstoppable navy. Something that Prugler is really going to struggle to fend off. Chicken on the southern plateau belonging to Khorne. And this air situation is a major problem for Team 2. Combined air power for Team 1 we'll see in just a second, but starting with Zoom, 278 air superiority fighters with fuel on the field. Handful 3, which are bingo. Howe, main air player for Team 1, has 226 by himself, but Gorthor has another 152. So combined, it's a massive air advantage, and that means that every time one of these chaps with a ground-based experimental gets an idea from Team 2, like they want to do something, they're going to be worried about gunship reprisals or strap bombers. But a major aerial battle kicks off over here between Gorthor and Zum initially. Hao then comes in to assist. Zum retreats, allows Gorthor to bag an awful lot of kills on the way out. Where does that leave us now? 197 ASFs now for Zum. 245 for Hao, increasing his number, and Gorthor, who got pretty badly battered in that exchange, is down to about 70. Feels like the air position for Team 1 only got stronger in that exchange. Pez still not having cannibalized that wreck from that bug out from Virus earlier. Virus, who, incidentally, to be said, it's doing rather well, considering he's a 900 rated player and he's messing around with a 1300 rated. Italy isn't having to worry about air or anything like that, but he's certainly holding his own. Navy isn't out of the question for this bottom left lake either. You can imagine if you get some missile cruisers, although Virus of course is Cybran, so that's out of his league. But certainly if Pez wanted to do that in the opposite direction, oh, well, he's Aeon, he can't get the missile cruiser, but he can get the missile ship. If he wants to go all the way to T3, admittedly, very sizable investment, probably not on the cards. That's a hefty little marching band coming south. Megalith for range, double GC. Against what? We've got a couple of Ethotas, nice little group of Harbs, small contingent of siege tanks. Wow, check out the battleships. And we've got nothing that can contend with that one battleship. We have got T3 Navy for Prugler, but he's got one versus two Summits, two Neptunes. So two battleships, two battle cruisers, now three battleships. Pepe just waiting for his moment, and when that moment comes, this fleet is going to be so nails and so heavily shielded. Could probably do with a few more governors in there just for some air coverage, because Prugler is going to need some major assistance from his air players. Experimental bomber from Gorthor harassing that southern plateau position of Pezduk. ASFs tangle once again, and I can only imagine that this will go Team 1's way. Zum did pretty well to pump out that many ASFs. And there's the second bomb from the experimental bomber, taking out the entirety of Pezduk's main base. Actually looks like he's got more ASFs left. It almost looks like he won that. He's forced to go in after the experimental bomber, which is heading straight for Zum's main base, and it's going to take down at least 4 of those T3 air factories and then get shot down off screen, annoyingly for Zum. No extra reclaim for you, sir. But I can't believe it. He's actually won the field in terms of the airplane and the air race. That's extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. Question is now, can he hold any kind of advantage after losing at least 3 or 4 air factories in that attack. It was the only part of his base that was poking outside shield coverage. Gorthor with a nice aerial incursion there. And now Pepe looking to hit back. Shield coverage up front has capitulated, but the artillery is unleashing. We have got mobile shield gens in here, but they're massively inferior to the huge coverage you get from those bulwark ships. But the experimentals we saw massing in the middle for Littoral and Virus earlier are on the march, threatening Khorne's main base. Khorne's getting some assistance from Legend Lore, who brings in an Ithota from the east. Down goes the Megalith of Virus, thanks to massive Notha fighter bomber attack from Zoom, who now holds the air advantage, of course. Experimentals just dropping like flies now. More coming in to replenish all the time. But I think this has ultimately been a very significant mass delivery for Team 2. Essentially 100,000, maybe more. Maybe we're looking at about 120, 130,000 mass in this area now. All waiting for Pez and co to reclaim. Although Pez, he's got his comm. He's got a bunch of engineers up here, but otherwise he's very light on build capacity down here. One final GC and a bunch of Harbingers remain for Littoral, determined to try and make something come of this attack, but I really don't think it's going anywhere. No point in retreating at this stage. He agrees. They do bag themselves another Ithota kill. GC down to 15,000 HP, taking fire from this fat boy further back. Down he goes, strolling into that Ion Storm. Massive wave of scout planes out from Hao. Let's have a look at ASF numbers now. Hao up to 53. Zoom up to 53 with 1 bingo on fuel. And it was Legend Lore we saw dipping his toe into the central pond in the very early stages of the game. Now it's switched over to Gorthor, who has a T2 naval yard and has pumped out 4 of those pesky Seraphim missile cruisers. Check that out as well. And Ithota makes it onto the main island, the main base of Pepe, and has caused all sorts of problems. All of his core mass has been taken out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mass points, 6 mass points down. What a lovely little attack that has been. And he's not done yet. That Ithota's still alive with 43,000 hit points. It's a 4-starred Ithota with 89 kills to its name, and he's got a second one coming down the northern causeway. Legend Lore wisely on the move with his commander. Oh, and he's got himself a nuke missile loaded, and he's going straight for the fire.
Strategic launch
Where will that be headed? Is it an aggressive nuke or is it a defensive nuke? Our survey says looks like it's going up potentially towards Gorthor's forward position. Massive wave of Nothas brought to bear on the Ithota. Dealt with easily. That other one, though, making it right in around the back of Legend Lore's base. Once again, those Notha fighter bombers will be brought in. The nuke does land, taking down a huge portion of Gorthor's power grid. Putting into a bit of fluctuation, but he's not badly or too badly deprived. And one thing we haven't mentioned is the exchange going on in base-to-base artillery. Both Virus and Khorne have gone for T3 static artillery, but no sooner do I mention it than we see Virus shields capitulate and he loses the disruptor that was firing and the one that was partially constructed. So that's a nice little win there for this emissary of Khorne. Got a second one at about 66% done, and they've partially secured the front line for now at least, although a spam coming through this gap now. Combinations of well, it's mostly fervors. We do have some harbingers in the mix. We've also got inbound cruiser missile fire from the edge, just going after fringe base structures of Zoom. Zoom, who's extended out a lot, has to be said. But this is great play on the ground from Team 1. Team 1, who are up significantly on eco. 2.1k to 1.1k. 44 minutes in. It's going better in the naval side of things at the top right-hand corner. We've got Pepe looking like he's getting in range of the main base now of Prugler. However, his base has been tickled apart already by some cheeky Ithota play from Gorthor. Let's hear your suggestions, guys. Answers in the comment section now and now only. Who is going to win this fight, Team 1 or Team 2? Don't try and be clever. No one likes a smarty pants. And leaving it later in the game, you've got to make your decision right now. Who is going to win? Engineers still scooping mass. Nice little recovery underway for Pezduk. Virus looking to harass with some T1 bombers. That's a big old brick wall up at the top. I'm surprised he hasn't brought that to bear. But they don't have air control anymore, which is a problem. So now we have more inbound artillery. This time, though, it looks like it's coming from Littoral, maybe. There's an emissary under construction there, right next to another one, which is complete. So Khorne and Littoral perhaps exchanging fire, or not. It looks like actually those two emissaries of Khorne are being directed to fire against Gorthor. Or are they? Are they going long? My goodness, I didn't realise they had the reach. Mind you, it's only a 15k map. So he's going straight into the backfield, trying to take down some of Howe's air production capabilities. Oof. One stalwart Omen battleship doing its best to defend against all of this summit pressure. Look at the lack, the absence of naval presence now from Prugler. Down goes the Omen. He's got one badly damaged Vesper. That is it. He is working on a Tempest. To his credit, that's nearly done, but that will have absorbed a huge amount of eco. Meanwhile, the assault continues on the ground. Littoral having literal trouble breaking through here with his T1 spam. Fat Boy Fire coming in. Experimentals positioned across the front. Notha fighter bomber attacks overhead. Oh! Whoa! So one of the emissaries down and out. Littoral having success with his artillery, whilst Khorne's artillery fire falls, or has fallen, mainly just on shield coverage. No damage inflicted. I tell a lie, damage inflicted. But no actual building kills. Look at that. He got some luck here breaking through the shield coverage. Didn't manage to get any kills though. And now he's lost one of his emissaries. Finally, he's recognized the threat and has gone after Littoral's artillery. Who's going to win this exchange, I wonder? Khorne very close to losing that next artillery piece. If one more shell falls on that, he is out of the artillery game. If not for good, then for some time. Oh man, that is how close production is to completion of the Tempest. But he's probably not going to get there. It's now taking a lot of long-range cruiser missile fire. And the main base has been transferred. All control of Prugler's units now transferred over to Gortha. Prugler moving his comm in an ill-advised low-kept position. Oh, he's just looking to cause trouble. He's going to move his comm through the gap, staying in the water as best he can, up towards the back end of Pepe's main base. Doubtful he'll make it. That is intel as it is perceived from Team 2, Pepe specifically, so they can see that comm and they know where it's going. Not much of a priority, just need a couple of subs or a couple of Coopers in Pepe's case dispatched to intercept. Shielding restored
Strategic
around
launch
this
detected.
position now. New nuke out from Legend Lore. That nuke launcher with 79 kills to its name so far. Doesn't look great. It looks good in the water, but it doesn't look great on the ground down here for Team 2. Literal has changed target, has he? No. It's just the way I was viewing that. Oh, but we've got artillery back up and running for Virus. And there's an experimental bomber dropping a bomb somewhere. I heard it. The nuke went after Prugler's old base. The experimental bomber is there from Gorthor. Took a hell of a hammering, but it was launching against the fleet. And this really, really will concern Gortha and Team 1 now, because the capitulation of Prugler means that this strait here could potentially open a doorway to Pepe obliterating Gortha's main base. And there goes Prugler. We could have focused on that march of the comm, but let's face it, it wasn't important. Down he goes. The first ejection at 49 minutes and about 50 seconds or so into this game. He dispatched his destroyers, no, sorry, his Coopers, his torpedo boats to deal with that menace. And finally, you wonder if there had been this aerial response sooner from Howe and Gorthor, maybe Prugler would have survived. They've done a good job of thinning a lot of this out. Those summits badly, badly damaged. And the threat, for now at least, contained. The threat to that northeastern coastline of Gortha's base. So many experimentals just casually being thrown out here. Gortha and Legend Lord dueling just in the southeast section of the meeting of the two causeways. Are we up to 2 disruptors and yet? No, not yet. Very limited amount of build capacity being put onto that disruptor, and instead the rest of it going onto a bug here for Virus. Virus and Literal going after different targets, however. Literal going deep against Zoom's air production facilities, whilst Virus sticking with Khorne. And he's actually, I don't know if they both did it, that was probably a combination play from Khorne and, oh sorry, from Virus and from Literal, taking down Khorne's emissary there, which you can see is now back under construction. And that is why Zoom was the new target of Literal's inbound fire. Shielding not as dense as he would like, I'm sure. Ooh! And that is a major incentive to protect this position. It's not the target, as you can see where the inbound fire is falling. Have they scouted it yet? No. So they don't know. They can see they're building something because they've got the scrying tool. Just need to move that to the bottom right. You would think they would do that soon. Out of curiosity. Is that complete? Can't be complete. No one builds a Paragon that quickly. No, he's switching up to more shield production. Needs to keep this protected. Once over, I think it's once over it's half built, or once when it's over a quarter built, that becomes a nuclear threat to his own people. If that goes up in smoke, so does everything in the surrounding area. So that must be protected at all costs. I don't know if that was always the case back in the old FA days, if the Paragon always went nuclear before its construction had been completed. If you know the answer to that, I would be fascinated to know. Do share with us in the comments below. Team 2 gonna have to do something. They have broken through the strait though. That air play that I was saying was working so well earlier, it has not depleted enough of this navy, and now we've got boats off the edge. But Legend Lore, amazingly, has managed to get Nithota right up to Gortha's main base. How did he do that? I don't know if that came through well. Oh, I mean, the causeway is wide open. I just would have thought there would have been more air pressure guarding that, but apparently not. It's not like they haven't got full intel. They've got Omni up, so they would have been aware of the inbound Ithota threat. That Ithota threat taking down a good old chunk of the power grid there. Varus' completed Soul Ripper brought to bear meanwhile against Pepe's fleet, taking down those pesky Governor cruisers, which are causing so many problems. Now some floaty, naughty spam out there from Littoral also being brought to bear. That Paragon at 4,567 hit points of 5,000. Team 1 cannot afford to let that complete. Tsar under construction for how? Are they even aware of the threat? They haven't been sharing much in chat for a while. Still no visual confirmation of the Paragon. They've actually moved their scrying tool onto a different target. And it is now operational. Zoom, now with access to limitless resources. What's he going to do with it? Major concentration of build capacity over here. Shield gens going up. Yelona Os. Construction started. And that could prove an existential threat to Team 1 if they allow that to complete. Scrying tool just north of where it needs to be. They've got a couple of them online now. Oh, down goes the emissary once again. Khorne cannot keep his artillery alive. And that's the one major advantage Team 1 have right now. Triple artillery threat with no counterfire coming in the opposite direction. They must illuminate these two threats though, the Yelona Os and the Paragon. Absolutely vital that that gets seen and dealt with. Generated eco between the two teams. Not too far apart, and that's including with the income from the Paragon. So actually, Team 1 doing much better on general eco than Team 2, considering the amount of resources which are being fabricated right now. Well, actually, they're not all ploughing it into the Yelona Os. So I imagine once all this build capacity gets redirected back towards the Yelona Os, then we will see a more accurate representation of how much or how many resources are being harvested by Team 2. the moment just trying to get as many shield gens up around it as possible to make sure this thing gets completed. Pretty sensible decision. But the artillery shells are raining. Have they spotted it? Kill now. That is a major concern for Team 1. They have spotted the issue. Down here, the Ylonna Oss, they're keeping quiet about it. They've certainly directed fire to the right sort of neck of the woods. More shield gens going up. SMD is down, says Literal, after that attack. That's not what you want when there's a Ylonna Oss on the way. You're going to need all the strategic missile defense you can shake a stick at. As we close in on 1 hour, this game's still wide open. Artillery battering the main bases of Team 2. Top right-hand corner waters still firmly under Team 2's control. Paragon in situ. And we're starting to get some salvations on the way. This is looking really bad right now for Team 1. They've got to discover that Paragon and they've got to take it out. The Ylonna Oss now, look at the speed at which that is developing. 7,000 of 12,000 hit points complete. And now we're seeing the real income. It's 4.3k versus 1.9k. That is terrifying. Zoom, a major, major threat to Team 1 now, and they might not even realize it. Scrying tool now moving around. Now they've spotted it, and now they will see. They were actually searching for the location of the salvation, I guess, because that fire now traversing the screen. Nice work from Literal, managing to sneak a couple of GC in down the side here. Probably came out through this vector. Recognizing the threat. Best play here, go straight for the Paragon. Very little on the ground, and Zoom knows it. Engineers get straight to work on some point defense. And you can see Literal has had the exact same thought. Double very healthy GCs. Look at that, 87k and 86k respectively. Lots and lots of hit points remaining. How on earth is Zoom going to keep this away, or keep them away from that Paragon? Crucially though, the Ylonna Oss has completed. He's trying to get all the bang for his buck he can now, getting straight to work on more experimentals. But he wishes he had a ton of support commanders right now just to capitalize on all of the resources at his fingertips, which he might not have for very much longer as the GCs make landfall. Artillery is raining. The shield gens have depleted. Might not even need the GCs here. Salvation gets taken out by artillery fire. That's Literal's emissary that gets the kill there. You can tell by the type of shots. But there goes the Paragon. And with it, Zoom's main base. Zoom well away from the nuclear explosion. Oh my word, and of course he can't power his shield gens now. They ping off momentarily. Has he got enough? He has got enough power. Just for a moment there, they blinked off, probably because of the amount of mass that he was consuming. Once that tank emptied, power returned. Experimental nuke knows exactly where it's going. It's the triple emissary of Literal in the main base. We saw he lost SMD up front. He did have one over here, but it only had one anti-nuke in the chamber. Boom! That will get your marshmallows done very, very fast indeed. But one of the emissaries actually survives with a mosquito's pubes worth of hit points. Look at that, 1,000 hit points out of 12. So that doesn't kill all of the emissary fire, and of course there is still the dual disruptor threat over here from Virus, who's happy to sit back here chilling, just pumping out bugs as he goes. That's where the next nuke is going, however. Let's have a look at what he's got in the way of anti-nuke. He has one anti-nuke with... Oh, he has got 5 anti-nuke missiles, though. So assuming nothing suddenly takes that out in the next 15 seconds, that should shoot down the missile. There he goes. So Virus is safe for the moment. Yolana Os is not looking particularly safe. Things were going so well for Team 2 just a moment ago. Can't believe this. But now the Paragon is down. The Yolana Os is vulnerable. Shields blink back on in the nick of frickin' time. Still more ground spam being sent in all the time. This game is crazy. Ugh. Ill-advised trip, though, for these 2 bugs. Virus losing both of those. Thanks to wary defending from Zoom. Which, if coordinated better, shouldn't have been needed to happen. Zoom has got 125 fighters. How has got all of the ASFs in the world. 468 fighters in play here. And he's not wasting any time. He's seen the amount of planes that his opponent has in the sky, and he's going to capitalize. And straight through that window, Virus has another bug to bring in. Next nuke out from the Yolana Os. Where's that going? It's going in the same place. There's 3 anti-nukes in the chamber. Virus has been evicted from this southern plateau. Pezduk, who looked out of the game a while back, has slowly expanded out. Handful of Harbs and Redeemers taking care of that. Super nuke shot out of the sky, as we said it would be. Oh, it's still got 2 in the clip. They must have just constructed a new one. You can see the prioritization that's now getting. But maybe the super nuke doesn't have to get the work done. We've got a couple of GCs coming in here from Khorne. So much going on in this game. Is the Yolana Os still standing? Oh, just barely. 423 hit points remaining. 1 shield gen covering it, and still the artillery reigns. It's got a split screen just to keep an eye. It gets another nuke out. There are 2 anti-nukes in the clip. Assuming this GC doesn't kill off that SMD, which it might well do. It's right there, but the shield coverage is strong. The Tsar over the top is putting down all its fire. It must be going straight after this, surely. Oh! It kills the shield gen right next to it. And... oh my god! What killed it? What killed it? The Yolana Os finally gets taken out by artillery, but the nuke is going to land. That's going to be the end of Virus's base. It's going to be the end, surely, of that Tsar, which is very ill-placed to observe the super nuke. Wow. Pez does lose a GC in that mix. Virus's Soul Ripper survives, but his base does not. Crucially, though, look at this. Oh my god. 3... oh, teleport assault commanders. Look at that. Pepe moving his comm right down here to the bottom right-hand corner. Legend Lore actually setting up shop. How rude. On Zoom's old base. Just, wow. 1 hour, 6 minutes down. What a dramatic reversal in fortune that has been. We've got tons of support commanders out from Hao, who has just pumped out a ton of Tempests, which are now pushing back against Pepe. Pepe, who has set up shop nicely over here with a huge battery of TAC missile launchers to try and contend with these Tempests, and they're doing that pretty well. That one's going to go down now. Gorthor has pumped out a ton of T1 land factories and is just spamming Zuis out to try and counter this naval play. 52 T1 land factories under his command. And slowly but surely, there's just more and more support commanders coming out from Hao. Shocker strap bombers and Mercy snipes being brought to bear against inbound ground-based experimentals. Gortha with a couple of chickens in the mid, heading southeast. Everything's so fractured and all over the place now. So difficult to work out where to hit next. Support commanders going pop, getting me jumpy for a moment, making me think I've missed a comm kill. Happens every bleeding time. Nice little maneuver here onto the edge. Spam up some T2 PDs, but not enough to break through the shield gen, and they're absorbing too much fire from the Navy. Howe down to a single Tempest now. Probably should get his gun pointed in the right direction. I think that might help his chances somewhat. Firing, I mean, that's just overkill and not a target priority. He needs to be shooting at these, really. No, kill the frigates, he says. He's likely not saying anything at all. That'll be the AI taking command of his units that he hasn't given commands to, and getting them to prioritize exactly the wrong thing. What have we got here? Large Shocker squadron. Where's that going? It looks like it might be Pepe's base. He has expanded nicely once again, just in time for a massive air raid to pepper his island. Pepe won't mind the pepper, I'm sure. Not terrible. Hangs on to all but one of his mass points, loses a couple of T2P gens, but he won't cry too much about that. I shouldn't think. What's his power situation? Absolutely fine. But they got a second run at the champ. Another Mex does go down. Pepe on 284 mass per tick. Howe pulling in 710 thanks to all those support commanders. That is huge. That is significant. Literal pulling on 643. And Team 1 just up a lot by a lot. It's 2k versus 1.2k now. That really hurt Team 2 losing that Paragon. Game just seesawing in all directions. Never know who's going to come out on top of the next engagement. Solus is trying to target these sub-hunters, which are moving in, trying to deny the next batch of Tempests. Dish out so much damage, though not as much damage as they used to back in the day. Got a nerf a long time ago. Battle of the Athotas in the mid, a battle which Gorthor and Team 1 are severely ill-equipped to fight in terms of numbers. One there, 5, 6 here. They can be brought to bed. There's not a lot on the ground up here. We have got a GC, so it's 3 versus 6 ostensibly. Pez just expanding. Lots and lots of... Would you look at the defensive coverage? The aerial defenses up over here. 46 SAMs. Ukraine would be proud. There is the main battle between the Athotas. Korn wants to get that rear one involved, maximise his output. T1 bombers brought in, but oh, the humanity, the Mercy snipe. And that is one of the problems. It's just overwhelming air control for Howe. And that is a major threat to any experimental that wants to push deep from Team 2. How do you contend with all of this air power? They've lost their air player. And, I mean, he's still in it, but he's basically pumping out ground spam now. Legend Lore is completely out of the game, with the exception of a T3 naval yard. It's got one Ithota over here. trying to re-establish air production facilities in the middle. I love how this has evolved, though. There's now no artillery on the field. All artillery has been destroyed. They've annihilated each other's T3s. And now it's just not a factor in the game anymore, so they're not as worried about spamming up shielding first. Another Ithota in from Gorthor, getting fire from multiple angles. GC partially under shield coverage, being protected over here, but that shield capitulates instantly. These pesky restorers, which Team 2 can do nothing about, and now a Tsar in over the top. They do have a nice little group of lightning tanks over here, providing fantastic T3 mobile AA, but there's no substitute for a huge swarm of their superiority fighters. Kudos to Pepe holding this position. Look at the shield coverage here. That TAC missile battery still in effect, being used perfectly against all of this Tempest spam. And again, another Tempest sinks to the bottom. Now continues to pump them out, however. Those and his Tsars and his ASFs and gunships, single-handedly keeping his team in this, with a little bit of help from Literal and Gorthor, I think it's fair to say. But Literal has, ever since he ate that super nuke, he has been a shadow of his former self. He has managed to re-establish an emissary, though. So, once again, artillery becomes a factor. Vulnerable target we mentioned earlier, however, is now shielded, so he won't be picking on that suddenly. And that's just what I mentioned earlier. The winner of the southwestern plateau has the ability to plonk down artillery on the cliff edge. Virus now finds himself in a pretty pickle, working on a Monkey Lord. Apologies for the sheer quantity of zooming in and zooming out in this one, guys, but there's so much going on, there is no other way to cover it, really. Do always try to keep it down to a minimum as best as possible, as somebody who suffers from motion sickness. And now we're finally going to see a Tsar out from Team 2. Pez working on one on that plateau there. That's actually nearly complete. 35,500 hit points done so far. Emissary firing over here. What? Gorthor with the teleport. Just wreaking havoc on the mass fab farms in the backfield. Check this play out. Teleporting straight out, and he gets out. Where did he get back to? He gets back over here. That was an interesting little maneuver. Took out a few facilities. It was well planned, well placed, well executed. Nuke out from, I don't know who, but it's taken out the main base once again of Pepe. Pepe's also now losing the forward base thanks to Restorer pressure and this Tsar. God, just when you think a game is moving in one direction, this one turns on its heel. Answers in the comment section below if you saw who launched that nuke in towards Pepe's main base. Ithota breaking through on Literal's base, takes down that emissary once again. Just cannot hang on to those. Virus has moved his comm into the water. I think he's resigned to the fact, although actually those miasmas have been taken out over there, but he did lose the main base section he was working on. Oh, and look. I'm Cybern, I'm a laser. Well, there's not much left going for him, so he's going to try the tele-snipe. Going for a laser upgrade. 1 hour and 16 minutes into this utter epic, and it really has been an epic of insane proportions, but we're getting some real breakthrough on the ground now. Literal with support commanders doing everything he can to hold his position in the mid. Lead Ithota looks like it might be about to go down, but the rear one still has 40k HP. In comes some strategic bombers from Howe. T1 bombers in from Pez, just trying to deplete the HP on these SCUs a little bit more. Pez brings in his Tsar. Teleporter upgrade on the way for Virus, having completed the microwave laser. Gorthor replacing one of his upgrades for T2 now. Still hanging on to the teleporter and going straight for T3. So we are going teleporter city right now. Nice little trio of Ithotas from Gorthor. I'm amazed he's still pulling in the mass required to pump such units out in such number, but he is just about. Hello! Another Paragon on the way. This time it's for Howe. And once that's complete, he has queued up a bajillion. Well, 6. 6 Salvation rapid fire experimental artillery pieces. Gorthor. Is that him teleporting? Virus. Are you going in tandem? Yes, they are. One commander there, another one over here. Oh, we've got an entry point. Another 2 entry points. So that's Virus and that's Gorthor. Virus has gone very far to the south. Gorthor going straight for T1 torpedo spam right over the top of Khorne's comm. Khorne hasn't noticed it yet. If he had any sense, he would hold fire on those, but he doesn't. That's harsh, I guess. Now Khorne is getting the "your commander is under attack" notification, and T1 torpedo launchers don't do an awful lot of damage, so Khorne has all the time in the world to get out of the water, and that's exactly where he's going. Virus went far too far to the south and started work on a T2 torpedo array. So this is a bit of a botched tele-snipe attempt, but he is now going again, and he's going onto the land. He's got the microwave laser, remember, Virus. He's going after Khorne's comm. Khorne going to get under shield coverage. There's nothing in the way of T1 PD until you get up here. That's where he was standing prior. Oh, and he's gone for the nano repair, and what an awful position to do it. Khorne's going to get himself killed. The question is, can Virus get himself out? He is taking fire from a support commander. He kills that off with the microwave laser. He gets back into the water. There are torpedoes buzzing overhead going after Gorthor, who's trying to get out and who's taking a lot of damage. Down to 5,000 hit points, but he gets out just barely. Virus cannot go there. He doesn't have the HP to do it. He's going to have to get onto land and hope he can get away from there. Takes down a couple of facilities on his way out. He's got 10,000 hit points. He's initiated recall. There are no regular bombers in play to come and rush. Some T1 regular bombers now being produced from Zoom's new production facilities, but I think he's going to get away. Oh, gets himself a cheeky rank in vet just before he escapes. That's incredibly saucy. Well done, you, sir. And where did he go to? Oh, he hasn't escaped at all. He is still on the offensive. He has gone right to the backfield of Zoom's old base, taking out some of Legend Law's facilities. I guess he hasn't got much to live for. His base is gone, so he's just going to cause as much of a nuisance as is humanly possible. And I use that in the loosest possible sense, seeing as he's a Cybran. Zoom spamming up T2 torpedo launchers, but they are not dealing enough damage to him. I think he's going to get out, although that second one opens up. Legend Lord starting work as well. No, I think he's going to get out. Torpedo bombers in over the top, though. Just gets out. And he's gone back onto the land. He doesn't even go very far. He's just trying to take out P-Gens now. And finally, he's dealt with. What a wonderful little attack that was. Down he goes at 121. Almost 122. And now it is a 4 versus 3 in favour of Team 2. How's that Paragon getting along? It's almost done, guys. I'm very excited. Comprehensively shield covered, although maybe not as much as I would like. Having said that, how is the King of Air still? Zoom. How has Zoom got on with his air production facilities? He's got 1, 2, 3... not a ton. 4 down here. It's going to take a while. He has got an artillery piece of his own. And once again, though, look at that. So he pulled his support commanders back, I guess, to work on the Paragon. And that has allowed Pepe once again to move back into the strait. And this creates issues now for Gortha, who has lost a lot of his spam factories up here. So his spam has been cut down to size. Legend Lore, his original play for a naval yard in the center, he has managed to get back in there. Has a T3 naval factory and has spammed out a bunch of cruisers, giving good air defense to this area, and of course a nice long probing reach with those cruise missiles. But the Paragon has completed, and now he should be able to absolutely roll through with these salvations. Are you kidding me? Surely he doesn't have the eco. A second Yolona Os. Well, Zoom is pulling in a hell of a lot of eco. Where is he getting that from? He's pulling in 777 eco flat. No Paragon or anything like that. And I don't think he's even got tons of support commanders. Has he gone wild with mass fab farms somewhere that I can't see? And at the same time, he's pumping out experimentals also. He's got a long way to go, but he's building pretty quick. So a second Yolona Os versus the first Paragon on Team 1's team. And this Paragon could not have come at a better time, because bit by bit their map control is being eroded down here. Virus's power vacuum he's left has allowed Pezduk to move up, establish a base down there. We've got more and more experimentals coming in through the center. Excuse me, just look at the number of them. We've had so many chickens and GCs in this fight. It's unreal. Oh, these salvations are just not getting built quick enough. He's going to need them to take down that Yolona Os. 1 hour and 25 minutes into this game.
Strategic launch detected.
Nuke out from Gortha. Is that a defensive nuke against the fleet? I wouldn't blame him at this point. Right in here would be nice. You'd get rid of a decent number of units. But no. It's an offensive one. It's going off towards Pez by the looks of things. Pez, who really has expanded out. Look at the electric blue imprint, footprint. Pepe has set up shop down here with tons of torpedo launchers. Doesn't want a repeat of what's happened to his teammates. That offensive action. The nuke will land and take down a ton, all of the core mass down here. So that's 6 T3 mexes, which are out of commission for Pez, bringing him back down sub 300 mass per tick. First salvation complete. Second salvation underway. What will be the target? Have they recognized the threat that's brewing? Have they seen it? Problem is, not ideally as well, the Yulona Ost is right by the artillery, so they're going to be looking for the artillery, and in doing so they're going to find the Yulona Ost. So I would imagine the inbound salvation fire at the moment is actually falling defensively. I don't know if that's due to lack of user input. Salvation. Well, it's not there, but it's up there somewhere, you're right. Gorthor trying to defend with every tool at his disposal, along with literal spamming out flares. Got lab play at 1 hour 27 minutes. That doesn't smell desperation. I don't know what does. But there's so many restorers here. But there's also 4 experimentals, 4 Ithotas with their own onboard flak, and of course all of the cruisers down here, which will ruin your gunship squadron if you let them cut down to size. But I guess Howe felt like he had no choice but to bring those in. That is not ideal. There's just experimentals coming in from every direction from Team 2 right now. Team 1 doing a great job trying to keep them at bay. But it feels almost futile. 5 assault bots versus 2 down here. How about to lose that GC? At least when they come a bit deeper, he'll be able to use his gunships again when they're away from these cruisers. 2 of the 4 Ithotas down over here. Crucially, Gorthor still has his 2, although they're badly damaged. How long for the second salvation? Not long is the answer to that one. Better shield coverage around the Paragon now, thank goodness for that. Can we see a comeback from a comeback? From a comeback from a comeback. That's what it feels like with this game. It is seesawed one way and the other throughout as we close in on 1 hour and 30 minutes. The salvation fire is falling. Directly on top of the Yulona Ost, scrying tool illuminating it perfectly. But look at the tanking, the direct tanking that's going on the main shield gen covering both the Yulona Ost and the artillery installation. There is so much build capacity here in combination with the Seraphim T3 engineering drones and crucially the rover drones from the UEF kennels. Look at that. Just shrugging off that salvation fire. Question is, how will it work? How will it react to multiple salvations? Literal gonna bow out of this one. Control K is com. We don't blame you, sir. He is without units, without base infrastructure. There is no real play left to him beyond some cowardly tele-snipe business, which we've seen quite enough of already.
Strategic launch detected.
Oh, nice. Artillery shell there, taking out a clump of planes as it flies through the horde. And is that the Yulona Ost? Yes, it is. So the Yulona Ost is fully operational. Dantooine is too remote for an effective demonstration. So he's gone for Howe's Paragon. Where are we in terms of SMD coverage? Second Paragon, got to get some redundancy. I love it. I'm amazed how many people don't bother with that. I was amazed actually that Zoom didn't bother. I mean, he might have. We might have missed it, but I didn't see a second Paragon when he was building his. Ithota taken out on the shore of Gorthor's base, which has sadly just been obliterated. Shadow of his former self, but expanding out into Literal's old base area now. Try and get away from Pepe's damned fleet, which is just making life hell for him. Third salvation at about 40% done.
Strategic launch detected.
And that shield gen, if we look at it, if we zoom in, you can see the dents being inflicted. It is getting down to about a third health, but just getting instant assistance. Fantastic tanking. Oh, when everything else is failing. He has lost his artillery piece, so this must have gone down at some point. Fortunately, it took the artillery piece and not the Yulon Oros. This is unreal. The next one, oh, wasted missile, which he can't afford to lose. SMD, so these are the only one protecting his base, because these are badly damaged. 800 hit points a piece. 3 anti-nuke missiles in that, and 4 in the other one. He needs to get shield coverage up immediately. What he needs is a ton more support commanders everywhere. You can see him spanning up quantum gateways and the like. He's got all the resources in the world, but has he got the manufactories? Has he got the build capacity to take advantage of it?
Strategic launch detected.
Just maybe doesn't have enough support commanders to do the job. If he had double, triple the number of support commanders in here, he would just be spamming these up. And then eventually, it doesn't matter how many rover drones you have, it's going to get broken eventually. And with his air power, a Paragon, would he be able to turn this around all by his lonesome? It's a hell of a job. Look, just look at the map control. Look at it. It's that versus everything else. Utterly, utterly brutal. 3 salvations online now, firing in sequence. Surely that's going to be enough to break it.
Strategic launch detected.
Are we up to 3 falling? Now we're getting into the triple shot shells. It's almost continuous salvation fire. Almost wonder whether you don't want to target something down here. Make sure the full brunt of all of these strikes are landing on the shield. They've got the scrying tool over it. Well, they had. Maybe they've lost the scrying tool now. But they were able to see that this was the shield that was being tanked at the time. If they could land every one of these shells down here, you might take it out, and when it falls, you might take the rover drones with them momentarily. Obviously, they get rebuilt back at the kennels, but that will give you the time you need to then finish off the Yulon Oros. But I cannot believe what I'm seeing here. There is effective tanking going on. Let it never be undersold to you how awesome rover drones are, because most of the Seraphim engineers we saw earlier tanking the shield have moved on to other projects. It is just the rover drones that are tackling this. Absolutely extraordinary. Huge numbers of governors from Pepe move to the edge of their available movement range to attack the main base. Support commanders trying to contend as best they can, spamming up as many volcanoes as possible. Another super nuke is out. That looks like it's coming over more in this direction. He wants to take this out, that's for sure, because if this gets online and properly secured, then he'll never be able to get a missile through. It's make or break time, and there's no anti-nuke covering it, which will take this out. The redundancy Paragon will get destroyed. SMDs are going to fall. Pop, 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 pop. There goes the Paragon. It doesn't trigger nuclear. Maybe it only does that when it goes green. Gunship's brought in to try and stall this little maneuver from Pez, causing a royal nuisance of himself. I mean, we've got a strategic missile defense up on the coast, but I don't think he's got any more. I think that's it. The next nuke is going plumb right in the middle. Salvations will be gone. Paragon gone. Team 1's chances in this game gone. Pretty certain. If he was just able to get up enough SMD and secure the area. If he'd had more build capacity, he would have been able to do it quicker. And they might have pulled the win out of the absolute bottom of the bag. But as it stands, I'm pretty sure this super nuke is going to get in unmolested, and that will be the end of the game. Oh, the humanity at 1 hour, 36 minutes. Boom! GG out from Hao. There was stuff going on down here as well, but I'm not sure what. Counter nukes, whatever. Oh my gosh, but that's a very nice push down through the middle. That's why. Defensive nukes out trying to stall this attack, which came maybe just a little bit too late. Gorthor, I don't know if he built all this himself or if he got assistance from Hao while he had his Paragon up. But they might actually break these through here to take out the Yolana Os, but just a minute and a half too late. Peds trying to chase him down with his 1 GC. These experimentals are beginning to fall now. These are very sizable T2 point defense batteries. They're stomping under shield coverage now. What a wonderful feeling it would be to take that out. If only they'd been able to do it sooner, though. The shields collapse. The Yolana Os is targeted, and down it goes. Are you kidding me? And there's the control Ks out from all the comms, capitulating. What a game, says Legend Lore. Yeah, that has been one of the most awesome games we've had in a long time. Absolutely insane. The ebb and flow of that, I felt it changed, like Supremacy changed from one team to the other about 3 times in that, at least, which you rarely see. You know, everyone knows I have a penchant for comebacks, which is always bad because that leads people to think, oh, well, that team's ahead. That means this one's going to win. So actually, my favourite one is at least a comeback from a comeback, just a wrong foot, everybody. But that felt like a comeback from a comeback from a comeback. That was insane. Absolutely insane. MVP, it's got to go to Zum. It's clutch. I want to give it to how dominant he was. There were so many good players in there. Literal and Gorthor on the ground up here. Peds for his comeback play. You've got to give Pepe his due. He tooled up early. He out-ecoed his opponent. He won the water and never relinquished it. And that always kept Team 1 on the back foot. If he hadn't done what he did, Team 1 would have run away with it at least 40 minutes ago, I feel like. But instead, it was a completely different story. It was a long game. Wow. Yeah, MVP to Zum, though. Clutch work. Because that could have gone a different way. If Hao had managed, like I kept saying, if Hao had managed to get more build capacity out earlier and secure the area, that would not have been able to break through. We just saw what would have happened. That would have got taken out, and then it would have been, what? What are you left with? Yeah, you've got a lot on the field, but you've got a Paragon you can't get to. Air control still with Team 1, and that Paragon is just going to run over you, basically. You're going to get obliterated. So that was a clutch play. And Zum, having built the Paragon, having built the first Yolana Os with it, getting it obliterated, losing his main base, getting back up to be the crucial player in the counter-attack. Yeah, it's got to go to Zum. Well done, everybody. Do tell me what your pick would be for MVP in the comments below. While you're down there, if you haven't done so already, smash like and subscribe. And if you haven't done, if you feel that you're so inclined, you want to support me further, the Patreon is a mere $1 a month. The link is in the description below this video. We've got 90 premium quality casts available there, ad-free for only the Patreon subscribers. It's only $1 a month. Think what you spend $1 on these days. That buys you nothing, literally nothing. So send it my way if you're not using it, for goodness sake. Hope you enjoyed it, though, guys. More to come from me in the future. Until next time, stay well and stay safe. This is Guile, signing out.